Last year I decided to buy the most expensive windsurf foil on the market. After almost 1 year, how is the foil holding up? Did I get faster? Am I happy with my investment? And would I buy it again? Today we're gonna answer all of these questions. First of all, what insanity led me to spend so much money on a brand new foil? And no, I was not sponsored, I just simply bought this foil. So let's back up a little bit. Until early 2024, I was using an F4 windsurf foil for around 4 years at this time. So it was either the first or second generation F4 foil, I'm not sure. And I was actually super happy with this foil. In the beginning, the performance was great. I was matching the speeds of everyone quite well. And also the control of this foil was much better than anything I've ever had before. However, this kind of changed for me when I did my first foil competitions. I started to do one late in 2023 and then I did 2 competitions in 2024. And by that time I noticed that with a 4-year-old foil, the performance was just not matching the newer models of the foils. Now, of course, it's important to say that this could be either due to the equipment, my foil, or also my skill level. So I had to find out for myself, can I improve my skills so that the gear doesn't matter so much, or do I have to invest in something new? However, over the last month I've already heard rumors about this new foil by Patrick being insanely good, with insane control and also acceleration out of the jibes. And then, you know how it is, my good friend Mario, who you probably also know from YouTube, he decided to buy exactly this foil, and we are all the time training here on the lakes together. So as soon as he stepped on that brand new Patrick foil, I did not have any chance anymore to keep up with either his speed, acceleration in the jibes, everything. And before we were always more or less on the same level when it came to speed and all these things on the foil. Like we were fighting for meters, like 1 meter over 500 meter reach. And now whatever I did, I had no chance. It basically felt like I was giving full power, giving my everything and being on the edge of crashing actually, while he was sailing with one hand and was still being faster than me. That's how it felt like with me on the 4-year-old foil and him on the brand new Patrick foil. So then I asked myself the question, what do I want to do with foiling in the future? Do I want to invest and upgrade? Because I knew if I kept going on the old foil that it would not be fun for me anymore to A, push on the lake with Mario as we're training all the time together, and B, do competitions. And then we actually did one competition together at the Racer of the Sea, and there I really noticed that my speed was just lacking. There were 2-3 guys on the Patrick foil, and especially in the light wind I had absolutely no shot. And then yeah, this is what really influenced my decision in the end, that I started to do these foil competitions, and they are actually really fun for me. I'm a guy who prefers to sail on fin, but competing on the foil is actually quite fun. So then I thought, okay, if I want to do this more and more, I have to buy something that is at least competitive, because if I'm coming in 5th place instead of 3rd, I want it to be because of my skill and not because my equipment is limiting me. So then I actually put in the order for the brand new Patrick foil in the PWA 450 650 Ti edition. What does this mean? The mast is the thin one, so they have several options. So this is the more expensive mast. All the masts have the same stiffness, but this one is a little bit thinner, and a thinner profile of course gives you more speed. The Ti stands for titanium, so what you can see right here, this foil has a titanium fuselage. And the thing about titanium is that it is very, very strong, and you can build it a little bit thinner than aluminum, so you gain a little bit of speed, of course, there. All in all, this foil has a retail price around 6,500 euro, I believe. So it was for sure the most expensive investment I ever did in windsurfing. So the real question is now, after 1 year, do I regret this decision to spend so much money on this foil or not? Let's dive in. So first tries. I actually tried this foil already before I bought my own one. And I think if you make such a big investment, this is always a good idea to try the equipment somewhere if you have the chance, either at a school. Of course, you cannot rent this foil anywhere at the schools. Luckily, I could try it in Sardinia. And what I immediately noticed, compared to my old gear, is that this foil just has a very stable flight with a lot of power. Especially in the jibe, this felt super different for the first time, because with my old foil, I always had to kind of balance out the foil with my weight. I had to kind of keep it up in the jibe and push the nose up. And with this one, you have so much power that you just have to basically push down all throughout the jibe, so the foil is not coming out of the water. And First, when you try this feels really weird, but after 2 or 3 tries, it already felt kind of natural. And the other thing I noticed was that I had so much more speed, especially in the light wind. Like the base speed is just so much higher. To get to like 25, 26 knots with this foil is super easy and like relaxing. Where with other foils before I had to push. And then the other thing I noticed was how long I could keep planing on relatively small wings. And yeah, these few things kind of made my decision easier to buy the foil myself after the first try. Quality. I think if you spend so much money, you don't only want the performance and then the foil breaks after 1 year, you want something that is holding up for years and years and years. And it's been 1 year now that I've sailed on this foil. So I think after this time I can explain a little bit better what I think of the quality and durability of this foil. First, I've never had a foil that had this small tolerances. And what does that mean? Like how the fuselage fits, or the mast fits into the fuselage, how the wings fit on the fuselage, how the whole box is fitting into the board. All this stuff, I've never had no problems with a foil like I had with this one. Everything just fits perfectly together. There's nothing that's kind of out of place and like shaking a little bit when you're going. It just feels super stable. I actually did have one crash in one race I did with the foil at the German Cup, and it was my fault. I sailed straight into someone, and the only thing I will show you is that I have a little ding on the back wing. So even this crash where I think our foils touched did nothing to the foil. So I'm really surprised with the quality of this foil. I'm very careful when I go out that I only start when it's deep enough, as I don't want to scratch the foil somewhere. One tiny complaint I have is that when you tighten the screws on the fuselage, and after the session you come on the water, the back screw actually a lot of times gets loose, and I've not found a solution for this. I don't know why this is happening. I'm not losing the fuselage or anything, because this fuselage actually has the self-locking mechanism. So like even if the screw gets a little bit loose, the connection between the mast and the fuselage doesn't get loose, because yeah, the fuselage is locking itself into the mast. So yeah, that's basically the only little complaint that I have when it comes to the quality of the foil, and maybe they can fix this in the future. Yeah, the range is really amazing on this foil. So I didn't believe it at first when I read the reviews and like what Patrick was saying and everything, that you can actually use much smaller wings than you can on other foils. And it depends what foil you had before, but I would say it's between 50 square centimeters to 150 square centimeters difference. So meaning if I was using before the 800 front wing with a foil I had before, I can now use the 650. This is actually my biggest wing now, is the 650, and I can comfortably get going in like 8-9 knots. And this I didn't believe at first, but it's true. I don't know, the foil just has so much power, and I think the wings have so much profile that you can go super early, and the wind range is actually quite huge. So with the 650 wing I can go from like 8 knots up to 25 knots, and then with the 450 I can go from maybe 12-13 knots is where it starts, and then up to 35 knots. I only have these 2 front wings, and they are all you really need, unless you want to go in like 6-7 knots. You do course racing, because course racing, I noticed that this setup is not ideal. So for example, in Greece last year, I did this long distance thing still on the F4 foil, and I think with this setup, this would not be ideal for course racing, because you have such a thin profile on the mast and the wings are not so huge. So there actually I think I went with a 1000 or 800 before in my old foil. I'm missing this a little bit, but it's a bit of an unfair comparison, because I only have like the super small wings. So I would have to try this with the bigger wings. I cannot say for sure how this foil will be holding up in like up downwind and performance like this. But with the current setup I have, I would say it's not optimal for this. It's really a slalom foil. Control. I would say the control on this thing is amazing, because all the parts fit so well together, which I explained before in the quality. So nothing is moving. The foil is very stiff. The mast is extremely stiff, especially for how thick it is. And all this gives amazing control. And then actually, I will show you, they did one more thing that's really different to anything else people have done before. So what you can see, the front wing is shaped like this. And the back wing is also shaped like this, and on other foils before, the back wing used to be like this. And what this does, it channels the flow of the water through this, underneath this foil. So you have very little turbulence on the back wing that was creating on, or is creating on other foils, issues with control, that you're going up and down all the time. And on this foil, this doesn't happen so much. And I think this is a big reason why the control on this foil is so amazing. Like I said in the beginning, what you have to get used to a little bit is the power of the foil. Of course, you can change this with the inserts on the back wing, but you have a lot of power on this foil and you kind of have to get used to this. But I would say once you get used to this power and know how to sail and tune your gear for it, the foil has very little up and down movement, and this is what allows you to really push full power on this foil. Yeah, and this is also leading us into the speed topic, because speed is mainly determined on foiling, I would say, by how much control you have. I don't think that this foil, the profiles and everything, is actually like physically the fastest profiles there are on the market. Maybe brands like Phantom, for example, I think have potentially the higher top speed, or maybe also Z, I think, have very high top speed. But what is super nice about this foil is that it's super easy to get to the top speed. Like, you don't have to kill yourself to reach this top speeds. I didn't have a bad crash yet, which is saying a lot. My top speed so far on the 650 wing is, I think, 32.4 knots or something like this, and on the 450 it's actually 34.2 knots. So I'm really happy with that, as it's like an improvement of 1 to 2 knots on these foil sizes compared to what I did before. But yeah, if you're just purely looking for top speed, I believe there are faster options out there. But what this foil also does amazing is in light wind. Like, I've never reached so easily 30 knots in light wind. You can like go in 12 knots of wind with a 650 wing, and you feel so stable that you can push really hard, and then you easily reach 30 knots. And before, if I wanted to go 30 knots, I did it before, but it was such a hassle to get there, and I had to go like to the edge basically, where I felt like I would crash any time, and this is not the case with this foil. So if you want a foil where you can, let's say, go relatively fast and stable over a certain period of time, this foil is perfect. Yeah, the acceleration out of the jibe, this is, I think, a big thing that is making this foil so successful in PWA racing. For example, Michel Becker, on his first year on tour, when we were watching the Garda Lake PWA event, it was insane that he could go out of the jibe and basically smoke everyone after the jibe, because he had so much acceleration out of the jibe. And this is a big thing why this foil is so successful, I believe. So this leads me to the conclusion of the video. Was it worth it to spend this much money on the foil? And would I do it again? So first of all, I would say it depends on what you're doing, as always. If you are like me and I'm doing competitions and windsurfing is basically my life, I have a lot of time throughout the year to actually go on the water, it is worth it. I'm happy I bought this foil, and also with the quality and how the price is holding up after 1 year, I'm super happy with it. What also influenced my decision to buy it is that Patrick promised that if he puts out something new, like new components, maybe new mast, new wings, the system will stay the same. So that you can just basically upgrade components and they will not move to a completely new system. And I think this is very important to be like future-proof. If something maybe better comes out in the future, that you don't have to buy a completely new foil, but you can just upgrade certain components. That being said, has foiling become more fun for me with this foil? I would say yes, because I'm always going with a GPS watch, and I like the feeling of speed, and with this foil just gives me a bigger sensation of speed. It's not just that the numbers on the GPS are higher, it's that I can feel it on the water, that I'm going faster, and it's more fun because I can get so locked in and stable. So for me, foiling has become more fun with it. Still, I'm a guy that likes to sail fin more. So if I had less time to go windsurfing, I would probably not focus so much on foiling and go more on the fin. So I think, to answer the question if it's worth buying, it depends on what you're doing. If you're a guy who's sailing foil anyway and you're super foil addicted, I think you cannot go wrong with this foil. Because here's the thing, with this foil you buy and you get what you ordered. With other brands, I've heard a lot of times that you buy something that has like the name PWA set or whatever, but you don't actually get the PWA set. What does that mean? It means there's big tolerances with other brands in, like, for example, the stiffness of the mast, which is a big aspect in foils that make them competitive or not. And with this foil, I've not heard from anyone that they have gotten a softer mast. Probably there are also tiny differences in between the stiffer and softer masts, but I have not heard from anyone that they had like a super soft mast or anything like this. So I think you actually really get the same thing that the PWA guys are riding. And this is not a guarantee with other foil brands, I would say. I think it's getting better now because Patrick is doing this. Other brands are catching up and actually delivering stiffer components and higher quality components to everyone. This is a big subject that is important for me when I bought this foil, that I knew here I would kind of get what I ordered. But if you're like a Finn guy and you just casually sail on foil when there's not enough wind, I'm not sure you should go for this most expensive foil. They do actually have cheaper options with like thicker masts and not the titanium but the aluminum fuselage and stuff like this. So I think those are performing really, really well. And then you have to ask yourself the question, do you really want to like pay double just to get maybe 3% performance out of the foil? Because in the end, this is what's making the difference between the expensive foils and the cheaper foils. So would I do it again? Yes, I would, because I'm going to do a few races this year that are already planned and I want to be competitive. I'm having a lot of fun with this foil. I'm happy with the durability. So yeah, it's the most expensive windsurfing part I've ever bought for myself, but I would do it again. Alright, that's it for my 1-year review with the Patrick Eon foil. That maybe helps a few if you put into perspective, if you want to buy a new foil, what you're kind of looking for and how this foil is holding up. If you want to check out my first try of this foil video, there's actually also one on my YouTube from Sardinia, so you can check this out if you want to see like my first reaction of the foil. Until then, I think we'll head out on the other lake now and film another video on the Finn. And yeah, see you guys.